So we're here in the back of South Hall at E3 2013 with Jack Matthews from Armature Studios, developers of, let me see if I can get all of this, Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate.
Yes.
For 3DS and some other handheld system.
PS Vita.
That we don't care about. And Jack, could you tell our listeners and viewers some of the games you've worked on in the past?
I have worked on Metroid Prime 1, Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3, and my proudest moment, Heavy Metal Fact 2.
All right. And now you're working on this very exciting handheld Batman game.
Yes.
That captures a lot of the presentation and also a lot of the gameplay features from the console Batman games, the Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, that have become very popular. And it's sort of a companion game to Batman Arkham Origins, which is also coming out on Wii U and other consoles this fall. So could you tell us a little bit about some of those similarities between the handheld game and the console games, and also some of the differences?
Well, so for one thing, the handheld game takes place 3 months after the events of the console game. As to the similarities, a lot of the combat we've tried to keep similar. The bat suit is pretty much the same. Generally, yeah, it's a continuation of the storyline. For the differences, the main one is that we're in a 2.5D sort of presentation. The combat happens on that plane, and we've tried to keep the feeling of that combat the same in a 2.5D presentation.
I noticed one thing that seems to really set it apart from other 2D games, especially games that have a structural design somewhat similar to this one, is that Batman can't jump, which is very consistent with the console games, but it gives it quite an unusual feel. So he's a little bit slower in movement. He's heavier. He's bulkier. It's more combat focused, but at the same time, you're very mobile around the environment, but you're constantly using the grappling hook.
Yes. And
you're using even gliding. With the dynamic camera and the way that the camera is rotating and flipping, and you're looking for places in the background that you might be able to grapple to and completely change the plane that you're playing on, how do you incorporate a visual language into the design of the game to let the players know where they can and cannot go?
Well, luckily, for one thing, with the grapnel, whenever you can grapnel somewhere, there's a little circle and an R telling you can go there. The other thing is we really try to keep the gimmicky nature of the 3D plane stuff to a minimum. We teach the player early on in the game that the perspective can and does change, but we really do it to punctuate certain moments, not just willy-nilly. So it's pretty apparent a lot of the time where you can and can't go. There's always railings that you can grapple to. There's always very obvious ledges. We try to keep a similar color theme. We put lights where you need to be going. So we try to draw the eye to those places.
And the demo that we just got hands-on time with was primarily outside in Gotham City. But you were telling me that most of the game takes place in Blackgate, the prison.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get inside of there, can you tell me about how that environment is sort of put together and how Batman moves through it? Is it sort of free exploration? Is it more of a gated progress where you have to find keys or upgrades, new abilities, something like that in order to get to the next area? How linear or non-linear is it?
One of the distinguishing things that we're doing once you get into the prison is that, there'll be an upgrade path and Batman gets gadgets, but we're going to allow it so that you can beat all 3 of the bosses in any order. And depending on the order in which you beat the bosses, it can actually change different parts of the game. It can change enemy layouts. It can change, if you defeat one boss, then maybe his thugs might have spread out more through the prison, that sort of thing. So it's still going to be a pretty non-linear experience. We don't have a one true path for the game. So you're going to be able to basically move all throughout the inside of the prison in a few different ways. And, we're hoping that, even though it's a single-player game, people are going to want to replay it to try and see what those differences are for the difference of completion order.
Is there anything in particular about the 3DS version that you think sets it apart? Anything that you particularly like about that version of the game?
What's really one thing that's really cool in that version of the game is that when we do the motion comics, those are 2D motion comics, but they're composited in 3D. So it's 2D elements that you see in 3D on the 3D screen, and I think that's actually a really cool thing because, again, the motion comic style that we've introduced is pretty unique to the franchise. So that's probably the coolest part of the 3D for me.
And you're using that to tell the cutscenes, right? To tell the story.
Yes. Yeah, we're telling all of our cutscenes are using motion comics because we felt that would be more appropriate for a 2.5D game, and we just thought it'd be really cool to do. Yeah.
All right, and when is this game coming out? How long do I have to wait to play it?
It is coming out October 25th. Right? Yes, this year. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to playing it.